Starship Vigilant, a Star Trek Adventures campaign.
Hello and welcome to session 62 of Starship Vigilant. Today's date is the 18th of October 2023. With me this evening I have Mike, who is playing Rafael Huerta. I have
sorry, wrong series.
Wrong series. I've got Sarah Jane, who is playing Waldemar Reiter, and we have Alex, who is playing who is playing Dr. or Chief Medical Officer, I stand corrected, Kamal Jitan. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that Kevin and Kerrin are not here at the moment. Kerrin sends his apologies for tonight, but Kevin will hopefully be joining us shortly. So again, this is episode 62. So for the benefit of those who weren't around last time, namely Mike, so what had happened was you had been so Admiral Stoker, who is, if you remember, was the Starfleet admiral who had started getting you to investigate phenomena following on from your experiences in the Bacchus star system. So she had the USS Lexington, which is the ship that you are all serving on, and the year, just for information, is 2269. And so Admiral Stoker had taken it upon herself to have the Lexington carry out investigations. So you'd investigated the planet Bacchus. You'd then also carried out investigations of a space anomaly which was in a neighbouring system. And during the course of those investigations, one of your shipmates, Lieutenant Prin, had basically been she disappeared along with the spatial anomaly. And last time, Admiral Stoker had actually come on board and had ordered you to a remote moon in a distant system, and to your kind of eyes and ears has become increasingly kind of paranoid and obsessed with this alien technology, this potential alien technology that you've all had some experience with, and had been quite obsessive about keeping you from discussing any of your findings with Starfleet, and had ordered you to basically investigate the planet. And as you'd approach the moon, sorry, it's a moon, not a planet. As you'd approach this moon, the system that you were investigating, you found was prone to stellar coronal ejections. Lexington had suffered some power surges and so on as you'd approach this moon, and Stoker was kind of forceful in getting you to get your systems repaired. And you'd all notice on the bridge that she'd been basically talking to herself, and all of you were concerned with her state of mind to some degree. But given that she's still a ranking Starfleet admiral, you kind of followed along. And she then was removed, or she disappeared from the bridge. Some sort of transporter effect had basically abducted her from the moon. Is that Kevin with us?
Yep, that's me. I'm just trying.
Kev, you're right.
Yeah, sorry, Sean, a late meeting.
No, not a problem. If just to make sure, so you can get to the VTT, if you go to the Discord sta_game chat, and then you'll see the most recent post there is a link to the current VTT, which ends with the word coda. So if you go to that should then get you to the VTT. And you timed it very well, because I'm just going over the what happened last time, basically.
That's okay. I've just got to send it, because I'm using my phone.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Take it.
But
yeah, not a problem. It's all good. Glad you could join us, and I'll bring you up to speed about it. And there's not much else. A couple of admin bits we talked about, but I'll talk about those later. Okay, so Admiral Stoker, so as I was saying, so Admiral Stoker had been abducted from the Lexington's bridge, and you'd been able to pinpoint several areas on the moon's surface to where she may have been abducted to. And so basically you took a shuttlecraft down to the surface. You were all in environment suits, so you took a shuttlecraft down and you managed to find Admiral Stoker in kind of in the ruins of an ancient city. She was underground in a cavern complex, and she'd appeared to be kind of being held by a bunch of wiring and cabling and kind of technology which resembled nature. And as you'd approached her, she had it was revealed that she was being held by a kind of almost like an arachnid, but it was made up like a giant spider that was made up from excuse me again. That was made up from all this cabling. And as you'd gone towards her, this thing had sort of attacked you. You'd managed to rescue her from the creature and had escaped. Managed to take an environment suit with you, got her into an environment suit, got her to the surface, and she was she seemed to be more lucid than she had been previously, although she was still ranting on about ghosts in the machine and that there's some sort of something living inside this alien technology. And she'd said that she'd realized as she was interfaced with this spider creature that the purpose of this whole moon was to broadcast data, and she knows that there are several other similar installations throughout the galaxy. And as you basically got back to the shotcraft as the storm began to pick up, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to get off the surface. So your shuttle managed to get up off the ground and into orbit. And as I say, I'm just going to read. So I'll just read the same phrase that we ended with last time. So the moon's gentle rotation belies the chaos that rages beneath the clouds. Cresting the horizon can be seen the USS Lexington and another vessel, what seems to be another Constitution-class starship. A massive flash fills the viewport as the unidentified starship opens fire, sending a powerful phaser barrage into the Lexington, followed by several torpedo spreads. The physics of space mute the explosions that tear through the Lexington, but the end result is as terrible as expected. The USS Lexington is completely destroyed, and countless chunks of debris scatter and burn as they enter the atmosphere, falling to the moon's surface far below. The shuttle's comms crackle to life as a sharp feminine voice states, "Unidentified shuttle, this is Federation territory. You have 10 seconds to identify yourself or you will be destroyed." The voice over the comms speaks in clear, crisp English, but with a hint of a Vulcan accent. There's a brief pause as you take in this, obviously what you're seeing in front of you, and then she then says 5 seconds. So that's the situation. So the Lexington has been attacked and for all intents and purposes destroyed. As you are watching this happen, you see escape pods kind of frantically ejecting from the hull of the Lexington as the barraging continues. But very shortly the space is filled with, as I say, debris and the aftermath of this explosion. So now I'm assuming Sarah Jane, you were flying, or Reiter was flying the shuttle, and obviously Captain Moore's on board, and obviously Huerta. So all of you guys are all on board, as well as Admiral Stoker, who for once seems to be, even she seems to be kind of stunned into silence by what's just unfolded in front of her. So right, over to you then. What do you want to do?
God. I don't know whether to identify ourselves as members of the crew of the ship that's just been destroyed or not.
So just to confirm, so our ship has been destroyed, yeah.
That is your ship. So the Lexington is your ship. All of you have served on the Lexington for, obviously differing times, but, presumably several years in most cases. and obviously this is your, these are your shipmates and your friends.
Yeah.
And you can only assume that the vast majority of them have just been killed. As I say, you can see, in your sort of, because I mean this is a shocking scene which you would presumably never have expected to see in your Starfleet career. But even then, your kind of professional mind kicks in to a degree, and that you as I say, you notice the escape pods,
right,
or you can see the kind of flashes as these things are being kicked out, and obviously some of the crew have survived, or at least have managed to make it to escape pods.
Are they still shooting?
Basically, once you've had this message come through to you, and they have stopped shooting because the Lexington is done. I mean, there is, that image is
So
probably,
they're not going after the escape pods.
They don't seem to be going after the escape pods. The Constitution class ship as clearly has you under its guns. I beg your pardon?
Identify itself? Did it identify itself?
There was no identification. You literally came across the scene. So you came into orbit. You were approaching the Lexington for landing when this thing came out from behind the moon and it attacked.
Can I get on the?
Interestingly, the first thing you need to deal with, I know what you're going to say, but the first thing you have to deal with is she's literally counting down at you. So the first initial question in front of you is: do you wish to identify yourselves, or are you going to try and get away?
Shall I order an
get
Uber?
on the radio?
Say that you should order an Uber. It might take a while to get there, so you might want to get on that now because you could be waiting a while.
Computer, order Uber.
No, like it. But Klingon turns up driving it.
At this point, you probably wouldn't worry too much about that. But
I think we identify ourselves.
Okay.
Right. Are we getting on the radio to it or not?
Well, I mean, okay. So as the captain, as Kerrin's not here playing the role of the captain, we'll do what we normally do, which is that we'll kind of make it a joint decision, and the captain will act upon what you decide. So Sarah Jane, you reckon you want to identify yourselves?
Yes, because if they're not going after the escape pods, then I don't think they'll go after us. Us.
And
agreed. Identify.
Okay. And Kevin, what do you think?
So two of us said agree and identify.
I know I can rely upon you to bring your paranoia to the front here. So
I will play devil's advocate and suggest whatever happens, we don't tell them who we have with us, because there is as far as I can remember, there was a conspiracy going on at the heart of Starfleet. So these are either pro or against that conspiracy, and therefore, until we know that, it would be prudent to not identify who we have with us, because she played some part in that conspiracy, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an excellent point, and I'll just reiterate that. So that's what Stoker had. So again, at last time, Stoker had become increasingly erratic. She'd been, I'd mentioned that she was on the bridge, kind of, essentially talking to herself. But
we have a transporter on board, don't we?
You do. Well, no, you don't. Not on a shuttlecraft. No, you don't. Not at this time. And also, it's worth noting that your shuttlecraft also does not have warp drive either. This is purely an impulse powered shuttle. So,
okay. So
unfortunately,
any identification
or whatever.
Well, no, I was thinking of putting her in the scrubbers to hide her.
Okay. I mean,
we can't do that.
But I think it's sensible to probably not identify.
Probably speak to them, but we need to find a way of disguising this person dramatically.
Okay, so the good news is at the moment you can basically, there is a rear section to the shuttlecraft. You can sort of, again, it sounds a bit pedantic. And Alex, just before we proceed on, what's your feeling?
I think we should identify, because otherwise, in our current situation, I think we'll get blown to smithereens.
Okay, well that's good. I think that's probably
we could truly then go to the final frontier.
Yeah, at the very least. At the very least, it buys you some time, I guess, is the thing.
We're on a diplomatic mission. Is that what Princess Leia said?
Yeah. This is no consular ship, Your
Well, this is
Highness.
like
You're not on
consular.
any diplomatic mission. Okay, so fine. So the captain will. The captain essentially. She says to Sarah Jane. She says, "Waldemar, open a channel," and you flick a switch, and she says, "This is." This is Captain Moore of the USS Lexington. We were engaged in a survey of the planet's surface. Explain yourself. Explain why you have seen fit to destroy my ship." And the voice. There's a slight pause on the line, and the voice on the communicator comes back and says, "The Federation thanks you for your sacrifice and for your service. Unfortunately, your contamination cannot be allowed back into Federation space. This wild goose chase must end here for the good of all." And your Waldemar, your sensor panel lights up, and you say they're preparing to fire. So I'm going to give you, Waldemar, a chance to take evasive action. You don't wait for an order because you just see that your sensors tell you that the ship is going to fire on you. What I need you to do is you're going to make a helm roll to try and evade the initial volley of fire from this ship. Again, this is bad news because this is a Constitution class cruiser, and
So it's called Coda.
The session is called Coda. Yes.
Children of deaf adults.
No, that's not it.
Oh, that's not accurate. Okay.
It's Coda in the context of it's a kind of a footnote to the last session.
Oh, okay.
But I see,
Okay.
but let's see where you're going with that.
But that could actually work because we
that
are.
Could actually work. Yeah.
It has a good algorithm.
Right. So Sarah Jane. Sorry, go on, Kevin. No, that's right. Go on.
No. I said a good algorithm.
Okay, Sarah Jane. So
sorry.
What you want to do is click on the two. You remember the D10, so click on it twice. That's it. Perfect. 33. Okay, so your Starship helm operations is 55. So you basically, without waiting for the captain to give you an order, you kind of throw the shuttle into a panicked or to a one could argue panicked or one could argue inspired evasive pattern, and you essentially the area of space that you were occupying 2 seconds earlier, phaser beams from the Constitution class ship hurl through them, and if you hadn't moved, then you would have been probably vaporized. The shuttle doesn't even have shields, other than these shuttles have like navigational deflectors, so they're designed to prevent you running into objects in space, but they're not going to protect you from weapons fire. So you kind of throw the shuttle into this like frantic evasive pattern, and as you kind of realize, and it goes unsaid amongst the others in the shuttle, that you can't keep this up forever, there's no way that you can evade this ship. For one or two more shots and it's probably going to be it. However, as you kind of throw the ship into another and you see on your scope, you see the Constitution class ship slowly begins to kind of maneuver around the moon, and it's obviously following you. As you're about to contemplate what to do next, suddenly there is a flash of light. Oh, there was. Sorry, I don't even know why I put that in there, to be honest. I just like the graphic of the Lexington. So as you throw the ship into the shuttle into violent maneuvers, suddenly there's another. Your sensors light up, and there's another coronal mass ejection from the surface of the star. And fortunately, the attacking ship is caught within the whole, because basically what happens is this plume of energy, because basically a coronal mass ejection is it's like an ejection of magnetic field from the surface of a star, but normally accompanied by mass, so plasma, and it gets essentially thrown out into space. And this is generally, these sort of things are associated with like solar flares. And
like EMP, isn't it? It knocks out all
it's
electrics.
kind of an EMP, exactly right. It's kind of like an EMP. There was a really bad one in about 1896, which, you know, luckily for us that we didn't have electronics because they reckon it probably would have fried most of the systems. But again, it's
we are due one.
I think we are due one, yeah.
So, but given that information, is it fair to say that technology would be so far advanced that if we saw one, if we were to momentarily switch off the systems within the pod, it would act as a what's what I'm looking for, a Faraday cage, and therefore when the mass ejection's gone, we could turn it back on again and have no effect for our electrics.
Exactly. In fact, actually, you're even more fortunate than that. So because of essentially what happens is as the other ship is coming round the the moon's orbit, or it's coming over the horizon of the moon to come after you. Actually, what happens is the ship actually puts itself between you and the coronal mass ejection. So, in fact, you are shielded from the effects of it simply by the bulk of this ship, because obviously, your shuttle pod is like 10 meters long or something, and this Constitution class ship is like 300 meters long. And basically, as you're kind of saying your prayers or whatever equivalent Andorians and Vulcans have, this coronal mass ejection. And obviously, this would have been ejected from the star, minutes earlier. But obviously, the Constitution class ship was too busy, too intent on its task, and so you can see that the ship essentially gets there's like a corona of light around it, because there is a visual element to this. It's energized plasma, and what normally happens is this will hit the planet's magnetosphere. And it can cause, aurora borealis, and it will cause electromagnetic storms. And as Kevin said, in extreme cases, it will cause EMP. But because normally a planet's surface is shielded by the atmosphere and the magnetosphere, we have in our solar system we have them, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, but generally they're very mild, and we're protected. But unfortunately for this ship, it takes the full thing. Kind of, and as I say, what it actually does is it shields you from the worst of it. So, Waldemar, you realise that you've still got helm control and that your systems have not been affected. Meanwhile, this Constitution class ship starts to sort of tumble slightly. You can see that it's obviously lost manoeuvring power, and so this gives you an opportunity to, at least get away from the immediate threat. So. How would you all like to handle that?
So we the Constellation class ship has had a full EMP hit it effectively.
Yeah.
So
and
from our sensors, does that look as though the what's it called? The shields are down.
You're an engineer, so you know that as I say, your character's an engineer, so you know that the shields were up when it was attacking the other ship, and this is certainly overloaded. So its shields are probably down to 20%. It's basically this EMP has kind of, or this coronal mass ejection has caused it problems. Now you know, because you're the chief engineer of one of these ships.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that you've probably only got a minute or so before it will come back online, because your systems are designed to deal with this stuff.
So then two questions. First question is, where is the helm on the? Can you put the Constellation ship back up?
Yeah.
Helm
So
is up on
there's the bridge.
Up. So where's the bridge? Sorry,
There's the
that
bridge.
bit there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's on 20%. Now, when the shields are around the ship, are they hovering just above the metal, or is it like 15 feet out? Or where is the actual shield? Is it like a Spelljammer?
Does it cover the surface of the ship, or does it encase it in a bubble?
It's a bubble, basically. my
It's a
understanding.
bubble.
It's
Yeah.
overlaying bubbles. Yeah, it's yeah. So it's not like the it's not like the hull is energized. It's
in Enterprise, it was effectively on hull plating.
Okay.
but at this time it's that's Mike's right. It was hull plating, but by this time it's actually an energy field essentially.
I have
it's
a
more
ridiculously
more of a-
crazy idea.
I'd be
Let's
disappointed
go on.
if you didn't have.
Okay, Captain.
Kevin.
Yep.
I was going to suggest something first. Maybe we should
go on.
magnetize the hull of the shuttle and stick ourselves to the underside of the ship so they can't find us.
Mine's more audacious.
Well, go on then.
Captain, we should park ourselves above the bridge, inside the shield, and accept their surrender, or we will fire into the bridge, destroying the ship. We have phasers, but the phasers will get through the hull. Phasers will get through the hull.
They would. The only problem you've got is that your shuttle doesn't actually have phasers.
It does. I just checked. It says phasers.
No,
we can
doesn't.
have extra weapons. I just checked. It says in the book. It says
I think
phaser
if you look at a Class
capabilities.
F shuttlecraft, I don't think it actually does have phasers on it.
235. Shuttlecraft. Said phasers. It said phasers.
The TNG era shuttles do have phasers, but the ones of this time don't. They're simply transport pods.
Well, in that case, we'll just tell them if they don't surrender, we will simply drive into the we'll drive into the bridge and destroy it.
Okay, I mean, you can certainly try. I mean, you know what? It's not the most nuts thing you've ever come up with, so
we can accept their surrender. Yeah. Go on.
Which direction is, because presumably the engines are offline, but it must be travelling under it, sort of with the inertia of
at the moment. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, you're exactly right. It's got it's sort of drifting. And again, I emphasise, certainly the chief engineer knows that this will only literally be this. You've got probably one thing that you can do, because it will it won't be like that for long, because it's just
Given I don't know which direction it's travelling in, but is there any way that we can nudge them a bit quicker in that direction? So if it's either heading towards the moon or heading towards the sun, it will give them something more that they've got to worry about fixing before they come after us.
Oh yeah. By the way, can you see that? That's the you see that shield display. So that's from a later one, but you can see how the shields are they sort of are away from the hull, basically. So
nope.
Okay. I mean, okay. So let's take those ideas in. So let's take those couple of ideas in order. So you certainly can fly the shuttle above the hull again. So there's the display. And again, the bridge, as we all know, the bridge is up here at the top of the ship. So you can certainly park a shuttlecraft. You could fly close enough to do that, absolutely. And I mean, I'm even happy to allow for the fact that you can say that the shuttle has got maybe limited phasers. That they're going to be weak, but I don't mind. I don't mind accepting that. Again, there's depending on which sources you look at, the shuttles have either got phasers or they haven't. And I mean, some people think those shuttles are warp capable, but in my setting, they're not warp capable. So that's an important thing you need to understand. And also, Sarah Jane, your idea about you could certainly do the same thing. You could do, I mean, basically both of those things could be done concurrently, right? You could fly the shuttle, nudge the ship to get it to start, to put it in a different trajectory.
Decaying orbit.
Yeah, you could do that. You could absolutely do that.
Put it in a decaying orbit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could certainly do
just make it travel in a way that they really don't want to be doing that without engine power to get themselves out of it. So I have to fix it.
So you do that, and then threaten them. We just go. I don't want to use the phrase "balls deep," but we really want to. If you're going to attempt to beat them at their own game, we're threatening these guys in a little ship, but in something that we could shoot through the bridge, and they'd all be sucked out, dead.
You could again. There's no reason why you couldn't try that.
The rest of the
I'm more
crew
than
will
happy for you to
survive
scan.
because the bulkheads would seal up.
Yeah.
But the command structure, we can take out the command structure. Whilst we're threatening them, I'm sure we can beef up the phasers to super maximum strength +3 or whatever.
Yep. Okay.
Once we get into the ship, we can beam our own crew back from their shuttle, from their
Yes.
escape pod.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can tell them that. So we threaten them. We nudge them into a decaying orbit. We park the shuttlecraft so close that we can shoot through with a spud gun. What we want them to do is to transport on half of the crew so that we can take over the ship.
Yeah.
That would be the plan.
Okay. Well, it's as crazy a plan as I could think of that you could come up with. So let's do it. Mike, have you got anything you want to add, or Alex?
Obviously, we're wearing Nazi uniforms. I didn't.
Of course, yeah. Because obviously you had those in the locker from your mission to wherever the planet was with the space mark.
Put these on, guys. It'll be hilarious. No, but seriously, I think that's we're not going to get away. So we'll either end up, arrested, and
to be fair, there's a fair point. There is a hard as it might seem, there is actually a sensible point there, which is that you realise that you are not going to, this shuttlecraft does not have warp drive. So once this ship goes, you are stuck here. Unless you find some other way to get off this to get away. So I mean, it's not the worst idea to kind of force them to kind of arrest you if you like.
The other thing is, it's a high crime. What we'll be doing, committing some kind of So surely hijack. So that would be an arrestable offence.
The only thing I would say is I'm not entirely sure how much of the rule of law these people, whoever's crewing the ship, are bothered about, considering they've just blown up a Federation ship. But okay.
Worst case scenario, we can, if it goes pear shaped, we can claim that, or we can say that they should treat us with whatever Geneva Convention.
Yeah. Okay. No.
Rights, and hope that we can at the very least be stuck in the brig until we get back. Worst case, best case, we'll have a starship.
I mean, it's just so crazy. It just might work. So, sorry, Mike. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Nothing that can compare to what Kevin's just come up with.
And Alex, how about you? Is there anything you want to?
Nope.
Okay.
Can I just say, today is a good day to die.
Yes, you can. And if I could give you momentum for that, I would give you. But we're not doing that. So yes, Mike.
So, does this shuttlecraft have a spacesuit?
You've got you're all in environment suits actually, because you were wearing them on the planet's surface.
Can you so they can go into space? Yeah, they're space proof.
Yeah. You've got exactly. You were luckily you were all wearing environment suits because of when you went down to the planet there was a chlorine atmosphere.
So does he have
how close are we set to the surface of the ship?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, because obviously that means that Sarah Jane's going to have to do a bit of fancy flying.
Yes, that's the other question. Could you get onto a spacesuit, and do you have some kind of welding, oxyacetylene, laser cutting equipment to cut through the hull?
You have phaser pistols, because obviously you were carrying phaser pistols.
Are there airlocks all over the place? Is it a case that we could actually?
Yes, absolutely. The ship's got airlocks, of course. Yeah, there are external airlocks. So
Mike, we could actually drop you off, and you could cut your way into the hull, and we could use it as a secondary, a third backup, as it were.
Because I've got fairly good security knowledge about a Constitution class starship being there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Well, this is the ship that you serve on. This is exactly the same type of ship that you serve on.
Yeah.
How about we nudge it? We nudge it, drop Mike off, then we come around the front to issue our threats.
Yep.
No, one step further. How about everyone get off, including taking the crazy woman, and I will park. Given I come up with the idea, I will park the vehicle in front, the body front, and issue threats. Worst case scenario, you lot survive because you're going in the airlock. Best case, we all get through. I will accept that high level of risk so that you lot can go into the airlock, and then I can issue further demands as you get in. Or is that even crazier? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
I think they're stunned into silence by your
Utter stupidity.
the very craziness of your plan. But
I just want to know one thing.
Yep.
How do I get out of this kicking shit outfit?
You're mixing your genres, but I like it. Okay, so
I got time for you, fool.
So things to tackle here. First of all, then, I mean, essentially, Reiter is going to have a bit of fancy flying to do here, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's kind of going to fall to you to pull this one out of the bag because so obviously flying the shuttlecraft near to the Constitution class is not really an issue. I'm not going to make you roll for that because the ship is at present is not able to do anything about it. And obviously you're used to flying a shuttlecraft, and you're used to flying a shuttlecraft in proximity to these vessels because you are, that this is the ship you serve on. So you are able to bring the shuttle. You essentially, the captain kind of has weighed up the options here and has realised that the best chance to save both you and the crew members from the Lexington who've managed to make it to the surface is to try this crazy plan. It might just work. So she sort of
worst case,
make it
we'll
so,
be
Commander
dead.
Reiter, make it so.
Worst case, we'll be dead, and you can't blame me.
Exactly. So you fly the shuttle, and you sort of throw the shuttle into some maneuvers, and you basically head and you sort of skim over the surface of the primary hull here. So did you say you wanted to drop? You wanted to drop off.
At the very least, drop Mike off. But I'm
try and get
happy.
To the ship, right? So that's the plan. He's
I'm
going to try
happy
and
to
get
drop
into an airlock
everyone off. Yeah, or drop everyone off, and I will simply fly it to accept full responsibility for what happens.
So what do the rest of you feel about that? I mean, again, so just so you know, on the upper surface of the primary hull. So here's the primary hull, sort of here, and so up on the upper surface here, all around the saucer section, there are these personnel elevators, which essentially they are a panel in the ship that takes you up and down. So if anyone has to get out onto the hull, that's how they do it. It's like a lift. You stand on it and it will take you down into the ship. And you can, if any of you have seen Star Trek: The Motion Picture, that's basically what they use at the end to get out of the ship. So obviously you will know about this. So you can the shuttle can easily drop you off. Can fly low over the primary hull, slow down, or stop long enough for you to get out. To get out and can carry on. So it's really up to you guys to decide. Again, the captain is kind of the captain is a puppet for you to control here. So she will give whichever order the majority of you decide on. So do you all want to get out, or do you want just for Mike to get out and try and get in covertly while the rest of you stay on the shuttle? What do you want to do?
I think we should all get out.
Yeah.
Safety in groups.
No, that works.
Cowards. That's right here. Cowards. Replicator, replicate me 3 feathers. 3 white feathers. No, that's good. That's good.
Because we can be busting into the ship while Mike is keeping them occupied, talking on through the window.
You are going to take the woman with you. The other.
No, that's fine. You can take Admiral. Well, it's up to you. Again, Admiral Stoker has kind of been. She's kind of subsided because, again, whatever influence she seemed to have been under previously seems to have gone, and she's become very passive since you rescued her. So she will essentially go where you tell her to go. She's not going to order you about. She'll sort of So I
So-
suggest if the rest of them are getting out, it's probably better to have her get out as well, because
Okay.
then she's in a spacesuit. You're all in spacesuits. You can be as you're approaching. You depressurize the cabin, and so
I'm going to keep it depressurized because if I need to jump out and get onto the hull, that's going to be quicker.
yeah, that's
Or
totally.
are they going to note? They're going to notice it's depressurized. I'm thinking that odd. No, I'll keep it pressurized.
I mean, you have to depressurize it to get everybody out, because of course there's
Yeah.
only this. There's only there's the hatch on the side of the shuttle. The shuttle doesn't have an airlock.
No.
It
All
just
right,
has
depressurize. Drop everyone off.
So yeah,
and
you depressurize, and the shuttle comes in. You kind of fly the shuttle in really low against the hull, and basically the shuttle comes to a halt, and you literally open the hatch, and you guys all kind of literally jump out. There's a bit of a jolt as you leave the artificial gravity of the shuttlecraft because you kind of transition over into 0G, but again you kind of you're all experienced Starfleet officers, so
What's
you are
my name
used.
again? I've forgotten.
So you are Vaoret.
Vaoret.
So you are Vaoret, who is the Andorian chief engineer. And you've got your piloting skill. I'm just going to double check that to make sure you're not going to fly it into the hull. But again, this is not a difficult maneuver, because all you're doing is you're flying it low, but this is not stuff you haven't done before. Your helm operations is that's interesting. You've got no helm operations.
Well, that
That
explains
could be
a
an
lot.
issue. But to be fair, I'm going to allow it because you've got dexterity of 63. That must be a mistake, because again, you're actually, no, I stand corrected. You've got shuttlecraft pilot of 16, so no, that's fine. You are 16 is qualified, so you're a qualified pilot. You're not the best pilot, but you're a qualified pilot.
Okay.
So you managed to bring the shuttle in. The guys jump out, and your kind of magnetic boots kind of latch onto the hull. And the shuttle then continues on its course, and as you look, you see the shuttle kind of flies up and over towards where the bridge is. You can see the bridge in the distance. I'm just looking to see if I could find a cool image of the saucer section of the Enterprise, so you get an idea of the size of it. But it's just imagine the shuttlecraft flies off, and I'm just going to bear with me 1 second. Just going to give you an idea of what this is going to look like to use, guys. So just bear with me. There we are. Right, so there is the shuttlecraft. If I just maximize that up, and if I now you can see you see on the schematic over here, those are the shuttles that are inside the shuttle bay. So you can see this shuttle here is actually slightly bigger, and that's just because of the the fact that I can't zoom it any smaller. But that gives you an idea of, there's the shuttlecraft kind of literally sitting over the bridge. So Kevin, I'm just going to get you to make I want you just to make a dice roll, and as long as you don't critical fail it, then you can get it into position, because as I say, you are a trained pilot. What's that?
D10,
so
isn't it?
If you just click the D10 twice in quick succession, that will give you a percentile.
33.
33. Okay, fine. So although your skill is 16, but as I say, the point is that you are proficient. So in the way the FASA system works is you have, as long as you're within the boundaries between 10 and 39, that means that you're a qualified pilot. So I'm happy that's good enough for me to allow you to fly the shuttle again. You basically park the shuttle
What I was
directly
thinking
over
of
the bridge
doing
dome.
is tapping the bridge dome to make a physical sound, and then I'm going to and then park it.
Okay, you can do that.
Give it a quick tap, so they're like, oh, bang.
Okay, fine. Yeah, absolutely. So you do that, and the shuttle kind of, yeah. Okay, you do that, and you can't see it because obviously you're in the shuttle, but one can only imagine in the bridge below, because the bridge does have a transparent. There is a transparent window at the top, overhead. So they will have seen this shuttlecraft come and sort of park itself literally above that window. So meanwhile, those of you on the hull itself, so you're down here. So the group of you are clustered over here. Mike, you're going to have to try and get access to the elevator.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if you're going to need to make a roll for this, because I don't. Again, correct me if you think I'm out.
If I'm going to make a roll, it's got to be something, because it's a different ship. If it was,
I don't even think that's the thing though, because do we think that these like maintenance elevators would be? I suppose there would be a security lock on them. I guess it makes sense. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've got to assume that they're going to be locked.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You've got.
I would imagine it's been taken out by the EMP.
Well, there is that. So I'm going to say, Mike,
the other thing I was going to say was, if the ship is at yellow or red alert, then those access ways are going to be sealed.
Okay, you've got security procedures skill of 48, which going by the FASA scale means you are professional. So obviously, this is your job. I'm going to get you to make a roll. And again, similarly, as long as you don't get like a critical fail, then we'll assume that you are able to. So what you do is you see on the left hand side where you've got the dice images. What you've got to do is click on the number 10 just quickly twice. So do it again, but just click them once, twice, quickly in quick succession. There you go. You see how it's done like a percentile?
Yes, I see.
So 48%. So that's perfect. So that literally is your security procedures level. So what that means is you are able to. So yes, absolutely. As Waldemar says, the EMP has caused havoc with their systems, and B, you are able to essentially run a bypass on the hatch. So the hatch, the surface of the hull kind of slides to one side. And there's like a square plate. It's like an elevator, but literally it's a lift plate. So you can all squeeze onto that, and the elevator descends into the. You push a button, and the elevator descends down, and the hatch closes above you. And now again,
going down.
Now again, the So what this does is it brings you into the hull, as I say, it brings you down into an airlock, which is up on probably deck probably deck 5. So for deck 5 is the main habitation level of the ship. So that's where most of the crew quarters are located. Now, this is good news for you in a number of, in at least one major way, is because when the ship is at red alert or even at yellow alert, most of the ship's personnel are not, because basically what happens is, the ship has 3 shifts normally. And obviously normally what happens is everyone does like an 8-hour shift. So you're either on duty, you're sleeping, or you're doing other stuff. And, but yellow alert, and I think yellow alert, they activate 2 shifts. So only the people who were probably, who would be kind of off, who wouldn't be like, would be sleeping, would be left, would be still, around. But with red alert, all 3 shifts get activated, and everybody has their own emergency station. So the good news is that because this is where everybody goes to sleep, there's probably not going to be many people in this area because everybody's going to be off at their battle stations rather than mooching around here. So, and sure enough, as you're in the airlock chamber, there is a red alert panel which is flashing, which obviously tells you that the ship is at red alert. So you can essentially the airlock pressurizes, and once it's pressurized, you can then open the interior door. So I assume you all kind of draw weapons and prepare to board the ship. Is that?
You were doing so
I'll tell you what
well.
we'll do then. Let's go back to Kevin, because obviously at the moment, whilst Mike gets himself sorted out, Kevin. So this is all obviously going on inside the ship, so you don't see any of this.
No.
You've parked the shuttle. and you've kind of announced your presence by literally tapping on the ceiling. Now, obviously, these ships are made of very tough material, so you're not going to break the glass, but they know you're there. And also, interestingly, because of the position that you're actually in, it's doubtful if they could easily get weapons. Even phasers wouldn't really be able to track to your position, because you're kind of parked right here, and the phaser emplacements on these ships are kind of here, sort of here and here, but they're obviously not designed to fire at the bridge. So actually, by maybe this is actually a genius move by parking there. Certainly at the moment they can't do anything to to shoot at you, and obviously your sensors are telling you that the ship is beginning to bring itself. It's coming back to life. So obviously the EMP effects are wearing off. But you're so close to the ship, even if they energize, even with the shields energized, you're kind of almost within the shield perimeter.
Yeah. So just want to clarify,
actually quite a good place to park, certainly for now.
We weren't on the Lexington. What ship were we on?
And you were on the Lexington. You don't know, so I'm using the graphic of the Lexington, but because obviously this ship that's attacked the Lexington is the same class, but you actually don't. And I'm glad you brought that up, because actually, when you look at because you should be able to see the registry on the hull.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there is no registry marking on the hull, so that obviously the Constitution class ship normally, again, I have to remember that not everybody's as familiar with this stuff as I am. So if I go back to this image here, if you look on you can see on this lot on if you zoom in a bit, you can see here on the Constitution class, literally it has the name written across the top of the hull and the number. They're not trying to hide the identity of the ship. However, in this case, this ship does not have any registry marking or any name displayed on the hull, which, as far as you know, is very unusual. You've never seen this before.
Okay.
Because this is not, Starfleet is a military organization. Vessels are identifiable, but you kind of realize as you're sitting there, you actually don't know what this ship is called. They've not told you a name, and there is no identifying marks on it. So that in itself is interesting. Yeah, Sarah Jane had a similar issue. There you go. Yep. I can see you back in there.
Should be back in. Yep.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Hear you fine. So as we were just saying that, I was just explaining to Kevin that interestingly, this Constitution class ship does not have any markings on the primary hull, so you're not able to tell which ship it is. So it's not like the Lexington and all the other ships that have the name across the hull. This one has nothing on the hull at all.
And we have a bit of background here for a second.
Yeah.
Kevin, you mentioned something about conspiracy from last.
Yeah.
Can you quickly fill me in on that?
Yeah, I'll fill you in because I've got the notes here. So what basically what Admiral Stoker had said, and I think I can quote. I'm going to give you. Let me give you some. So okay, I'm going to give you some. Give you a little bit of background here. So she basically believes that there are elements within Starfleet who are trying to prevent her investigation into this alien technology. Because you're the security officer, I'm gonna assume that you did some digging into her background when she first showed up. Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm
sounded like.
Was that Alex?
It sounds like it was still cutting out.
Okay, fine. Sarah Jane, if you can hear, I'm just going to just explain this to Mike, so I'll give you a minute to see if you can get yourself sorted out. But then, like I say, we'll come back to you in a second. So basically, Raphael's done a bit of digging into Stoker because, again, when he saw her erratic behaviour on the bridge of the Lexington, you kind of, as a security officer, you're kind of thinking, And so you found out that it turns out, with a bit of digging, you found out that her son, she had a teenage son who about a year ago had started showing had been diagnosed with what seemed to be some form of schizophrenia, which in itself is very unusual because in the 23rd century, although obviously there is still mental illness and there is still, there are still conditions out there, certainly humanity's way of dealing with these things has moved on. And so, interestingly, even the best doctors in Starfleet could find nothing physically wrong with the kid. Up until that point, he'd been perfectly normal in his development. He'd had no issues, came from a stable home, and so on and so on. And nothing would indicate that he would be suffering from any kind of anything that would cause him. And obviously schizophrenia is a condition, but it had never been detected, in his first, 15, 16 years of life. And so you then can see from her record that she'd, apart from the fact that she'd contacted many medical personnel within Starfleet and also outside, kind of interest from the medical community had sort of moved on because it was not causing him it was not going to cause him physical harm. They were minimizing his symptoms with medication and so on. And so effectively, Starfleet Medical kind of had thought they'd kind of dealt with it. And it then turned out, you can see from her record, that she'd actually been going around speaking to, and she'd had communication with officers within Starfleet who were sort of scattered around. And when you began to dig into this, you find out that a lot of them had reported strange phenomena and alien technology, and a picture became apparent that Admiral Stoker seemed to think that her son was being affected by something that was not, a physical condition with him, but she seemed to, the ways that she was carrying out these investigations was suggesting that she believed there was some other agency at work affecting him.
Can I just throw a bit of meta speculation in here?
You can do that, yeah.
About the character. I'm wondering if this is something to do with the fact that we release the guys in the future.
It's the Tilikal, yeah.
And it's sort of like whatever they're doing is affecting here.
So in a meta sense, all of, and again, so taking this outside of what your characters know, in a meta sense, all of this technology obviously is Tilikal. So the stuff that you've encountered on Bacchus and is all elements of Tilikal technology, and certainly given what you know as players about their capabilities, it certainly seems likely that this is something to do with the Tilikal. Maybe reaching out from the other dimension, trying to get through. Maybe they made contact with Stoker's son.
Just because they're coming back doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come back in the Vigilant timeline. Exactly.
And what became apparent though to Admiral Stoker, or at least when you've kind of gone through her logs and her kind of movements, she also seemed to believe that there was some element within Starfleet which was trying to prevent her to investigating further. And again, it's hard to be sure, but so this paranoia of hers and the things she was saying comes down to the fact that she believed that there was some element within Starfleet that was, for whatever reason, trying to stop her from finding more out.
I'm chief of security, right?
Yeah.
Would I make a roll?
You're probably involved.
Yeah, probably. Can I make a roll to see whether I've heard anything about Section 31?
Yeah, you can do. Okay. So again, use your security procedures roll. Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. Actually, no, hold on. Okay, I'm going to get you to make an average. Right. So you've got security procedures 48, and you've got Federation law 26. So what's that? 74. So if you want to make a roll, if you can roll 37, roll 37 or less. So just again, double click on the 10 when you're ready, and that'll give you a percentile. That's a 0.8.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have heard whispers of a shadowy faction within Starfleet, which the rumors and the drunken nights on star bases talking to other security officers, and your own experiences, you believe that there is an element within Starfleet which sometimes acts outside of the what would seem to be the command structure. You've read evidence of things where people have disappeared, or things have been covered up, or things have been revealed, and you kind of firmly believe that there is a faction. Now you've not heard at this point. You've not heard the name Section 31. You just are convinced there is a kind of a covert.
Again, that's the meta thing for it.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. Again, it's just sort of like, because I'm trying to put two and two together, and I'm thinking, well, this ship's the equivalent of the black helicopters that we have nowadays.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
It's an unmarked, untraceable ship.
Yeah, and again, the fact that this is a Constitution class ship, which is the Federation's at this point, this is the Federation's best and biggest and best ship, and the fact that they have, whoever these people are, have the resources to, have at their disposal one of these ships.
There were only 12 built, were there?
As far as you know. So officially there were 12. There were 12, or was it 13? But there were officially 13 Constitution class ships were built. This would seem to suggest otherwise, because unless somebody's rubbed the name off one, this ship is not one that you don't even know what it's called. There's no evidence of what it's called, and that in itself is a concern.
They filed the serial numbers off it.
They've essentially filed the serial numbers off it. So again, you kind of begin to believe that maybe Admiral Stoker might have been onto something, because again, her ravings were kind of dismissed as being conspiracy, but here, there's evidence staring you in the face. Okay, so Sarah Jane, are you back with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, you are. Cool. Okay, good. That's good. Okay, so right, so let's go back to you guys in the airlock. So you're in the airlock. You kind of all draw weapons, and you've pressurized the airlock.
Can I suggest that we don't? How many of us are there? Three of us in there.
There's captain. There's the captain. There is Raphael. There is the medical officer, and yourself. And you've got also Admiral Stoker. Now, Admiral Stoker, as I say, she's kind of at this point, she's just going to follow you around. She's not really going to be able to do anything. She's kind of as I say, she's kind of gone very passive. So there's 4 of you plus her, and then obviously we've got Kevin is flying the shuttlecraft. And again, the captain can act as a pawn for you to move about, because Kerrin's not here. But she's basically, she'll do what you tell her to do, basically.
Do our communicators work?
Communicators.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, they should work. I mean, you can. What you can do then, I'd suggest is, and I'm sure Raphael would suggest this to you, that you basically retune. Exactly. You retune your communicators to a different channel so that you're not going to be picked up by. It's not like the standard frequency, which would be picked up. You can use covert. You can change it to a different. Put it on channel 12 or whatever.
I request we did that before we dropped off mic.
Yeah. So you do all of that, and
that explains what happened.
Yeah, I'm going to assume you all pull phasers. You've all got, as I say, you've got weapons, which you draw.
Is Kerrin's with us, isn't he? The captain's with us.
Yeah, the captain's with you, but she's just going to do what you tell her to do. So you can tell her.
I'll look at the captain, and as I reach for the dial on the back of the phaser, which from stun to kill, I look at the captain questioningly.
She says phasers on stun. Yeah, phasers on stun. Mr. Huerta, these are still are still Starfleet personnel, despite what they've done.
Yeah.
And besides, dead men can't talk.
No, but they can. Live ones can fry. There you go.
Right. Okay. So, what
All
do you
right,
want
who's
to do
turned the
then? So
shuttle
you're in this.
upside
You're in
down?
this. What's that?
Who's turned the shuttle upside down?
Sorry,
Kevin?
I was just playing with it. That's me.
Oh, you.
Right. Okay.
I guess we
So
head
right. So
through
back
it.
in the shuttle then, Kevin. How would you like to proceed? So you're sort of sitting there now.
Open hail.
Okay. So you open up a hailing frequency.
This is Lieutenant Cmdr Vaoret of the USS Lexington. Surrender, or I will shoot phasers through the bridge, breaching the hull, and killing all of you. You have 3 minutes to decide.
Okay. They do not acknowledge your signal, but they don't. As I was, Mike, I don't know whether you were online when I was we were talking about this, but as I was explaining to Kevin, actually the position he's picked is quite handy because they can't actually shoot at him, so they can't certainly use the ship's phasers because he's just too close to the hull.
Yeah.
So actually, you have got a bit. Now, obviously, the problem you're going to have is when they start manoeuvring. You might have to try and attach the shuttle to the hull because otherwise they're just going to,
Yep.
if you're not attached to them, they're just going
Which
to
is
fly
what
away.
I said in the first place.
Yeah.
Yep,
So what you could
that-
probably do is try and actually, you can actually probably try and clamp to the hull.
Yep, do that.
Okay, so we'll allow you to do that. Again, I don't really need you to roll for that because again, you're a chief engineer.
There's a button, clamp.
But also we know that the shuttles have got the capability because again, we've seen that in Enterprise that the even the shuttle pods would like clamp onto, they would like magnetically.
It'd be the
lock
landing
onto.
pads, wouldn't it? They'd magnetise the landing pads.
Yeah. So basically, you kind of deploy the landing pads from the shuttle, and essentially you can magnetize. You can essentially attach yourself to the hull, so that even if they start, assuming that the maneuver, because again, a ship this size cannot make, massively violent maneuvers. So unless they go to warp speed, which could be an issue, but then even then, I guess, Mike, he'd be inside the warp.
He'd be inside the warp.
So actually, yeah, you're kind of good, at least for a few minutes. You've certainly got 3 minutes where they can't do much about you, unless they literally send out people to go and shoot at you with phasers, which, I wouldn't rule out, but it's going to take them more than 3 minutes to do that. So for now, they do not respond to you, but they also don't take any action that you can see, but that's fine. Because again, what you're doing here is you're buying time also for your for your shipmates.
So I'm also going to turn on the phasers, activate them so they and not hide that anyway. So they got the phasers.
They can see
the
you're
phasers.
activating the phaser. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I'm gonna and again this whole issue of shuttles with phasers, I'm gonna is a little bit of a bit vague, but I'm happy to let it ride because again I see what you're going for. So let's say that I'm gonna let you. So if you want to make a Starship weapon, right? So you've got a Starship weaponry technology skill of 15, which again rates as what we call qualified. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as you make a roll and you don't make a critical failure, so as long as you don't roll 100, then I'm going to say that you can basically overcharge the phasers.
47.
Right. So what you do is you kind of rapidly inside the shuttle, you kind of pull up a floor panel and you kind of are fiddling around and you basically manage to route more power to the phaser array because the phaser array on the shuttle is low powered. Let's just say it's designed for dealing with things like meteorites and stuff. It's not really designed as an offensive weapon. It's a phaser bank, but it's not like it's not like a highly charged one. So you're going to overcharge it, and you pull power from the ship's engines or whatever. So you kind of overcrank it by let's say 40%. So you're going to do 40% more damage with the ship's with the shuttle's phasers than it would normally do, and they certainly will be able to detect this on their sensors that you have overcharged. Ultimately, the biggest advantage you guys have, of course, is that you know this ship, or at least you know this type of ship. You are familiar with its systems. You are, so it's possible. Again, you don't know about Section 31 officially, but again, this ship is certainly not normal because of the whole registry thing. And the systems are the systems. So they might have other security processes in place, but fundamentally, you've got the chief engineer, you've got the chief of security of one of these ships. So actually, that is in your favour.
I'm just thinking it's what Kirk would have done.
I couldn't disagree with you. And
Oh,
it's good enough for Turkish.
just an amount of interest. I'm looking at the walls and monitors to see where there's a large group of people looking in.
Yeah.
Very
What
obscure
episode was
reference
that?
there.
I can't even. What was that episode called?
I don't know. It's one of the season 3 ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think so.
One of them. I can't remember. Mark of Gideon, was it?
Mark of Gideon. Yeah, that might be the one.
Can I suggest that when we get to the bridge, we have at least one of us, assuming that we overcome anything going on there, we have one of us immediately start looking to beam the rest of our crew on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got to get control of the ship first.
But yeah.
As we're saying, if we can get, we can
we're obviously
activate the. We can activate the anti-intruder system.
Back in the room, so we'll carry on from there. So the 3-minute deadline that Vaoret has given to the crew of this ship is proceeding. Meanwhile, you guys are in. I'm going to assume you've come out of the airlock, right? Because we were all still in the airlock. So you come out of the airlock.
Yeah.
So what you see is the corridor, standard corridor of the end of the Constitution class, kind of curving away from you, and as expected, the red alert klaxons are kind of silently flashing on and off, indicating that there is an alert in progress, and you begin to, you know where you said you're heading for the bridge. So how do you want to tackle this? Because you're basically down here somewhere, and as I said, you're in the habitation level of the ship. So the corridors appear to be deserted because there is, most people are at their battle stations. There are some areas on this deck which will have crew members, but you would know that. And so you can move around the ship at this point. You know your way around these vessels. So again,
got the access tubes between levels. The ladders that go up, down.
Sure. Okay. So you
use those rather than the lift.
Yeah, of course. Right. So also, Raphael, you know that you also only have a limited. You probably only have a limited time before intruder. The ship's intruder systems will probably detect you. Now, again, the solar flare activity will probably have helped you.
Yeah. Don't forget, we're also wearing suits. We're still suited.
Yeah, you are.
So
if they try and hit you with the gas, at the moment you've still got. You're smart enough to keep your helmets. Although they are made from like mesh, aren't they? So we'll ignore that. But you're basically in environment suits, and again, which is a benefit to you again, because if they do try and hit you with tranquilizing gas or whatever, at least that will keep you safe from that. So again, you have you realize that you're on a bit of a time limit here, because again, every sort of second that passes, there is a chance that you'll either be spotted or that the ship's internal systems will come back online. Because again, this solar flare thing has again affected the ship systems massively. So you're probably okay for the time being, but again, that there will be people working to get the systems back online, and sooner or later those intruder detection systems will register you. So you don't have time to hang about. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to head up.
So you're kind of heading up the you're kind of heading up the you climbed up through access ladders, and these are ladders in the corridors, which again go between levels. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably get into the Jeffries tubes, which again, I know they're not something that we see in the original series, but I mean, I've always assumed that the Enterprise, in fact, we know that this ship has them because they had them in Enterprise, didn't they? They had that episode where they were in the access, the Jeffries tubes. So the Jeffries tubes, for those of you who don't know, are the kind of maintenance. They're like maintenance corridors, but they're kind of crawlways, and they run between. They run all over the ship, so you can get around the ship. covertly, because these things are behind panels in, they're like ventilation shafts in the walls basically. But it's where all it's the reason why the Enterprise's corridors all looked quite plain was because all of the kind of workings were all hidden behind the walls. So and again, all of you are familiar with this ship, so you can easily gain access to those if you want, but that will probably take you longer to get anywhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you can also obviously communicate with each other, because as we've established, you've set up a your
private chat
communicators.
function.
Yeah, you've set up basically you've set your communicators up to be on a you've got like a coded channel, which I would assume you would have set up before you kind of went your separate ways. You would have set that up. Makes perfect sense to me that you would do that. So again, you can communicate. So if you want to coordinate your kind of attack with Kevin, so that he knows what's occurring, then you can certainly do that. I've just moved that. Can you see the corridor section there?
Yep.
There you go. So that's what the corridors of the original Enterprise look like. This is obviously the recreation from the place in New York. But that's basically the corridors are kind of wide, and
You put a new picture up.
Yeah. So it should be on the
I'm
screen
still
now.
only
If you just refresh your browser, and it should take you to it.
No,
hello.
it's lost again.
Just lost everybody there.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
still...
Yeah. Okay. I'm back in the room.
Yeah. So like I say, you're going through these corridors, and oh god, that was weird. What happened there?
What?
Just zoomed in really large. How bizarre.
It's because you can zoom in on these pictures.
Yeah. How weird. I can't get it to. I actually can't get it to go out as well. Doesn't matter.
Roll it back. Just roll back.
Yeah.
And if you got a mouse,
I've just lost my. There you go. I'm back in now. Okay. So anyway, you're doing that. Meanwhile, shuttlecraft is still hovering over the bridge, and you look at your clock, Kev, and like 2 minutes 30 seconds have kind of gone by. So what do you want to do?
I'm going to fire at 3 minutes.
Okay.
Dot on 3 minutes.
To be fair,
If I don't, then they're going to simply go, well, he's just bluffing. So I am going to fire. If it doesn't work, I'm going to back the ship up and tell them they've got another 2 minutes before I fly the shuttlecraft into their plasticine window.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, they have blown up your ship, so I don't really hold it against you that you're, I know Star Trek is not normally violence is not normally the answer, but to be fair, they started it in this instance, so.
Yeah, but also I need to buy the guys enough time to for this to work. So I can't imagine the phasers are going to get through. But at 3 minutes, I'm going to fire. Otherwise, they're just going to go, yeah, it's full of wind.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Do it.
Okay.
So I apologise beforehand if that destroys the entire ship, killing everyone.
I mean,
my bad.
So you'll be all right. You'll be all right because you'll be in the shuttle. Everyone.
I will ask for forgiveness afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah. It's always the best time to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. So, right, Mike, back to you. So you're going through the corridors. You're obviously moving as quickly as you can.
As quietly as we can. Yep.
Quickly and as quietly as you can.
Is there a secondary bridge on this thing? Is it a case
that?
There
is. So
there is a
right down in the secondary hull, there is an auxiliary bridge. Yes, there is. Yes, because everyone.
If you
so
remember,
would it be better for them to go for the auxiliary bridge? Could they take over the ship from the no?
We'll
what they could do, actually, no, I'll tell you what you could do. Actually, what you could do is you could
intership beaming is very dangerous in this period.
Yeah, but could you get?
So what I was going to say was,
Yeah.
actually, what would be a thing is, of course, if you think about it, if you're attacking the main bridge with your shuttle, and if you are able to take it out, then actually being in the auxiliary control to take over.
Because the systems would automatically switch
They
over.
would.
But surely, if the main bridge is being attacked and it's getting compromised, even if minor it would be compromised minorly.
Yeah.
Then the secondary bridge will kick in anyway. It's surely there's a protocol to say if bridge A is attacked, flip all systems to bridge B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's totally reasonable.
So
can you see that image, by the way? That's a
Yeah,
that's
that's nice.
A nice little
So
cutaway
I
of
would
the
suggest
Empire.
then we go for bridge B, and I'm going to take out bridge A.
Yes.
Okay, so what you're going to have to do in this case then, Mike, is you're going to have to probably risk the turbo lifts, because obviously, because you are currently making your way up to the primary hull, and you're kind of, you're up to the bridge, and you're kind of climbing your way through.
Could we retcon this so they're actually the plan was always to go to
I don't mind that.
D rather than A. That way they're further there, because that makes more sense. Take out the bridge A, bridge B is usable, and then the command structure is gone.
Have no issue
Well, in that
with
case,
you.
if you're going to retcon it, drop us off on the secondary hull, and we'll enter the ship through the secondary hull, which is where the
Is that too much of a retcon?
No, I mean, I think, to be fair, I think what you do is do what you said first, which is that you did get dropped off on the primary hull because that was the easiest way for you to get access through those service hatches. But you basically just make your way to the auxiliary control, and I mean, it's the same principle. Now, again, you have to be a little bit more covert. So I think what I'm going to get you to do, let's kind of we'll kind of what's the word I'm looking for? We'll kind of abstract. We'll abstract it a little bit, because again, you don't want to have to make a roll for every encounter. But what I'll do is let's get you to make a roll as a group, to see whether you come across any if you encounter any resistance on your way. So, given that Raphael is the chief of security, I'm going to give you the driving role, because you've got security procedures 48 and you know the ship, and then we're going to average it with your dexterity. So we've got 48 and 70, so it's 118, so 59. So I want you to make a roll. You're aiming, your target's going to be 59. If you manage to make it under 59, then you are able to get to the auxiliary control room without encountering any resistance. So again, double tap on that. Perfect. Okay. So you basically, if I go back to the other cutaway, so I'm pretty sure the auxiliary isn't the auxiliary bridge is actually in the secondary hull, isn't it, Mike? It's here.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's so far as I can remember, it's effectively the this is what I was going to ask you in the Doomsday Machine. I'm not sure whether that was the secondary hull or not, secondary bridge or not.
No, so you see there.
No,
have you seen
that?
Yeah. So I think there's an auxiliary bridge there. There, but there is also one down here, which is basically this, because it when they talked about the ship separating, which never happened in the original series, but my understanding is that if I remember rightly from the old plans, this area here is actually the auxiliary control. So actually, your original plan still works. You're on the primary hull. All that's happened is, instead of having to creep through the whole ship, you've basically gone straight for auxiliary control. And because you made that roll, the group of you are able to, up to this point, you've evaded everybody. You kind of know how. Obviously, you all know how the red alert works. You know how these things, how this stuff works. So you've managed to get. So you're basically outside of auxiliary control, and and you are standing by and waiting for Kevin to take action, because obviously your plan is that he's going to either disable the bridge, or he's at least going to distract them so that you can get in and get control. Okay.
Yeah.
So right, back to you, Kev. So what do you want to do then? So your 3 minutes are up. So you're going to actually fire. Okay.
3 minutes from bang.
So you basically as you're attached to the hull.
Actually, at 2 minutes 58, I'm going to fire.
God.
Okay, so you have realised that the ship is making manoeuvres. So again, as time has gone on, and again, just to reiterate, the ship has had a lot of its systems kind of overloaded. And obviously, while your countdown has been going on, they've obviously been frantically trying to get the ship back operational. So what you do is you kind of the ship is making manoeuvres beneath you, because again, at the moment they're still trying. They're trying to get you off, but they're kind of actually trying to get some distance so they can shoot at you. And obviously, because you've magnetized, yeah, exactly. So because you're magnetized to the hull, they can't. You're still attached. And basically, I'm going to suggest that you've kind of drifted back and you've locked yourself onto the hull here, which is basically, so essentially the bridge is right in front of you. And at 2:58, you fire the phasers. So if you want to let me have a look at your. Again, I think the best way to handle these things is, as I say, it's a bit abstract because the FASA system works a bit differently. You've got Starship weaponry operation of a grand total of 4. However, no, it's fine, because your actual shuttlecraft, your small craft operation is different because you're operating a shuttlecraft. And so I'm going to give you again, if you want to roll me you've got a qualified level. So again, if given the fact that you are sitting about 5 meters away from your target, so what did you roll? 56.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so basically,
bounces off and hits the shuttle. Sorry.
That's all right. That's interesting. See how it puts a die? That's interesting. It puts a dice there. You can use those as counters, apparently, timers. You see that?
Okay.
Now.
Anyway, sorry, I was just getting sidetracked. So yeah, you're basically here, and again, despite their manoeuvres trying to throw you off the hull, you fire, and the phasers fire, and actually, the shields, what's left of the shields flare, and you actually inflict damage on the superstructure of the bridge. Now, you do not, with this first shot, you do not actually penetrate the hull, but you can certainly see that there is, you've literally put, there's damage. In other words, and they certainly will have felt it. They will certainly have heard that impact, and you can imagine there is some panic going, or panic, but there is definitely some, frenzied activity, because they've realised actually that again, they're in some serious danger here, because you're, again, they're presumably trying to come up with a plan to get rid of you, but at the moment you are sort of, you are a threat to them. And again, although you don't actually damage the hull, you don't penetrate the hull, but you certainly damage it, and they will have heard that and felt that.
Well, they were given 3 minutes. They didn't respond, and I would keep firing.
Okay,
and
I'm
not because I'm going to try and disable the hull disable the bridge. That's my plan. So I'm just going to keep firing until I can't, and when I can't, I'll take off and I'll ram the bloody thing.
Okay.
God.
Until the point in which you've taken over the secondary bridge and are in control of the ship, I'm just going to keep hitting them with this, because they are going to have to deploy people on the outside of the. They're going to have to really think outside the box to stop me.
Okay. So back to the other. Yeah, again, and like I say, actually, the plan is actually very clever, because the only thing they can really do is they can launch a shuttlecraft, which, because again, this ship has shuttles as well, but they haven't been able to do that yet because, again, we're still, you've still got this short window of time where major systems are still coming back online, and they presumably can't manage to, decompress the shuttle bay or whatever. And the only other thing they could probably do is literally send out a team in spacesuits to go and shoot at you with phaser pistols. But again,
and on top of that,
this all takes
you
time for them to.
Yeah, you literally have a shuttlecraft firing through their window.
Exactly.
So, and that's like really, that's not an abstract thing. That's there hitting them. That's not the crew. That's them. That's those 5-6 people in that bridge.
Correct.
I'm trying to kill them, not the crew.
Correct. So, back to you guys then. So you could just continue firing. And again, obviously you're inflicting damage, and it's a matter of time before you're going to breach the hull, because you keep firing at it. It's going to sooner or later it's going to go.
Kevin's
right.
Is it Vaoret?
I beg your pardon?
What's Kevin's character's name? Is it Vaoret? I can't remember.
Yes,
Vaoret.
Chief Engineer Vaoret.
Reiter was going to say, does anyone know if Vaoret took his hyperspray this morning?
I think he had his Weetabix.
So, no, they're screwed.
He's definitely had something. I'm liking this plan. I'm enthusiastic about this plan. Okay, so you guys are down here, and you are right. So you're outside auxiliary control. Now, Mike, you know that there are going to be personnel in here because obviously this is this will be a battle station. So how do you want to handle this?
I'm assuming the phaser's got the borders, got the setting that's the border's friend.
What's that? Well, wide angle, heavy stun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does indeed. Hold on a minute. I've got my handy dandy cadet's orientation source book in my hand, which has got not that one. I want the technical manual, which has got here we go, weapons table in it. And yes, you are quite correct.
Setting otherwise known as
heavy stun.
The setting otherwise known as how to piss the GM off.
No, it's totally fine because again, I'm on board with it because it's even been in canon now, isn't it? Wasn't one of the shows? Didn't they actually use it?
Yeah, and it just that's where it comes from. It's just that they come onto the bridge and they just pulled the trigger once, and everybody on the bridge just dropped.
Can you remember where that was from? Was it the original series?
I think it was one of the original series episodes.
Yeah, I'll have to. Like I say,
though, to be honest, it could have been one of the TOS episodes, one of the animated series.
Right, here we go. Wide angle stun. Okay, all phaser weapons can be set for wide angle stun effect. Wide angle stun shot affects all targets in 3 connected squares, which we're not going to worry about because that's to do with maps and things. Separate to hit roll must be made for all affected targets. And you get a plus 20 modifier to hit because you're not going to miss them, obviously. Sorry, go on.
Not just say before we come in, rather than just one of us coming in and firing, we all set. As is what, 3 of us, 4 of us?
Yeah, 4 of you.
Yeah, we just stick our heads around through the door and fire. That covers everything in the room. Right,
so all of you basically take a moment, and what you do is you take out your phaser pistols and you set them for wide angle stun. And what this means is when you go into the room, you fire, and it essentially fires out a wide angle beam. And we'll see how we get. We'll get Mike to roll first, and if he misses anybody, then you'll all get a chance to hit him, because essentially what you're doing is you kind of hit multiple targets at once.
No, you don't hit me.
No, not you.
The other
not
target.
you. The other target. That's what I meant. Sorry, slip of the tongue.
Good job you clarified.
Of course you did.
Good job I clarified that. Right. So basically, so we're on your count. You open the door because again, the door's not locked.
I do that thing with 3 with my hand.
3, 2, 1. You burst into the room, and there are 4 crewmen in the room who are sitting at their stations, and on the view screen you can see the because again again I've got I think I did have an image of it. It's not really actually no, that's good. Hold on a sec.
Wipe them out, all of them.
I'll just take a quick image here, which I will just dump onto a thing for you just to see what it looks like for those of you who are not familiar with the layout of this thing, because again, here we go. This is why I like this VTT. It's so much easier just to drop an image in. Although that hasn't worked. Famous
I might
last
try
words.
this. I might use this for the vampire game next year.
Yeah, it's just so much easier than messing about with Roll20, honestly. Although I don't know quite why that's not deciding to.
Might be one of those things where you got to reboot the.
No.
Especially-
It's just a like I said, it might be my my pitiful dragon skills. It doesn't really matter.
I heard you were really good in drag.
Boom. I don't know. Don't worry about it. As I say, I'm a bit puzzled by why it's not doing it because it was working before. Maybe I'm. Let me just try and.
Well, there we go.
another page. That's all right. That's the shield thing.
It's the Ready Breck shuttle.
I don't quite understand why it's not. It's really weird. It's it doesn't really matter. Anyway, the point is, this room is it's a small room. It's got a console facing a small view screen, and there are a couple of side stations. There's like an engineering station. There's the central console basically controls like the helm, and then you've got two other stations which control presumably weapons and science. And there are red-shirted crewmen at each of these positions, and of course, and you know that during a battle station, these guys, during a red alert situation, these guys will man these consoles. So you burst the door opens, and literally these guys are sitting right in front of you. So first of all, we'll get Raphael to make a shot because you're first one through the door. So your to hit modern skill is 63. And as mentioned on the wide angle stun, you get an extra 20. So it's an 83 or less you're going to need to do it.
You got 50.
I did roll. I
Just
roll.
do it again.
I got 35.
I didn't even see that. Okay, that's good enough. That's fine. That's fine.
That's even better. I'll take that.
Yeah, you take that. Right. So you basically you burst through the door. So that's the first target. So roll again. So you've got one of them. Same again. Just don't. Okay, second one hit.
Third one
hit, and fourth one. Cool. Right. So you burst into the room, and again you fire your phaser, and all four of them kind of take that kind of theatrical kind of they freeze and then they just drop to the ground, and the rest of you kind of file into the room. You're sort of moving your phasers around to make sure there's nobody else. And again, as you expected, that they're the four people who are on duty there. So you can, I guess, one of you probably will want to seal the door because obviously, someone else can do exactly what you've just done to them. I guess maybe the captain starts to drag the unconscious crewman over to one side just to get them clear of the consoles. And then those of you, so I guess Commander Reiter, you probably would take the center seat, like the helm console, or the kind of main position. I'm really annoyed why this won't let me drop this bloody image in, because it would be so much easier for you to understand if you could just see it. But
can we as players drop images in, or is it just you?
I don't see why not. Yeah, I think so. You could try it. As I say, I just don't understand why it's not letting me do it. Really, it's just a simple image. It's nothing too complicated. But I've got another one now. I'm going to try it again. Hold on, because I've just gone into the. I don't want to spend loads of time, messing about this, because again, it's
you or me.
No, it's fine. I was just trying to drag, because all you got to do is just drag an image in, but I'm trying it and it's just not doing it. So I don't know why it's not doing it, but it's very odd. Anyway, so you've now got control of auxiliary control. Meanwhile, up on the top of the ship, your colleague is still shooting, and they're getting more and more worried at this point, I think. And the maneuvers that they're making are kind of getting to be more and more frantic as they're trying to throw you off. And it becomes clear that then the only thing they're going to be able to do is as I say, send somebody out to basically to deal with you. And
laughing while doing this.
I'm sure. I have absolutely no doubt.
Another
because-
time in another place, I know someone else would be collecting test tubes.
100%.
So
Yeah.
for preparation. At some point,
Yeah.
I want to set the gunfire, the phaser fire, to autopilot effectively, and you
Yeah.
keep going bang, 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 and simply leave the ship and walk down to the where the other guys were.
Okay, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
I think
Okay, so
When it becomes obvious, when it becomes obvious that I've spent so much time and I'm about to break through, just before other Starfleet officers start coming to me, I'm gonna just meander down to the deck and meet up with these guys.
okay. Right,
I
so
think that, yeah.
also you the only downside is because you're firing this, almost constantly. You also realise that the shuttle's weapon system is basically overheating, so it's probably only going to, it's not going to be long before it gives up the ghost because it's not designed
blow up?
to.
Will it blow up?
Well, I tell you what. Let's make it. I tell you what. No.
Is it possible?
50-50.
Actually, is it possible to blow the? Could I reposition
Yes, you
the
can.
shuttlecraft directly on top of the screen
Yeah, you can do that.
and detonate it
Actually, I'll tell you what we could do here. I'll tell you what we
remotely?
could do. So right, so you could do that. So yes, I rolled a 63, which means that essentially it's yes. If you can rig it to, because as I said before, you overcharged the phaser system, didn't you?
Yeah.
And so what's happening is because you've kind of jury rigged it, this thing is beginning to glow. When you've got this panel open and you've got like cables going into it, and you're pulling power from all the shuttles, batteries and everything. And as you're looking at this thing is beginning to glow red, because it's constantly, firing. And again, this shuttle's weapons are designed to knock out, little meteorites and stuff. And so you've already overcharged it, and this thing is now getting really unhappy. So you realise that you've got a very short space of time now before this is the phasers are going to stop working, and B, the shuttle is going to explode. So what I would suggest you probably do is you can get one of your colleagues in the shuttle bay to actually transport you
anybody
to the ship, because again, because you've got auxiliary control, you've got access to all of the control systems, and although you haven't taken over control of the ship yet, you can easily use a transporter to beam him in. Certainly you can beam him on board. You might not be able to beam him directly to your location.
Can I tell you how I picture it?
Say again?
Can I tell you how I picture it?
Yeah.
He knows that the shuttle is going to blow up imminently, so he backs it away for one last run up to the bridge of the ship. He sets it to automatically run itself into it, causing the fatal explosion. But before it starts its last journey, he steps off of it onto the hull of the ship. He uses his comm badge to ask them to beam him away. And as he walks towards the camera, if you like, the shuttle blows up in the background, and then
he does a Tony Stark.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Iron Man.
So the only thing I will add to that image is that as he's walking away from the shuttle and over his shoulder, in a Quentin Tarantino-ish way, you see the shuttle kind of suddenly lurch forward, impact with the bridge, and then blow up as it overloads. And he's sort of calmly walking away from it. And then as he's calmly walking away, he begins to sparkle, and the transporter catches him and beams him in.
Yes.
So everything as you described, with the only difference being then, as I say, that as he walks away with the shuttle kind of exploding in the background, he then is transported aboard.
Brilliant.
And we have destroyed the bridge.
Have we?
Okay, so right, Mike, did you want to say something quickly before I carried on? Hello?
We're still here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you're
we
still
have.
there. I think Mike's just drives. He was obviously just about to say something really exciting then, and he's just completely gone. Hold on a minute. He's still on. Is
You
he
can
still
probably still hear us if Discord.
yeah, if you can still hear Mike, I'm guessing you're still. Yeah, it looks like you're still in the system.
Try
But
and mute yourself and unmute yourself.
Yeah, as Alex said, try muting yourself and then unmute yourself. But it may just be, Mike, that we're never going to hear what the exciting thing was that you were just about to say, because I don't think we can top that image of the shuttle blowing up. And so let's go with that. If Mike
in front of the flames, I love it.
So basically, exactly as described, the ship gives an enormous lurch as the bridge vaporizes. The shuttle explodes. The bridge is breached, and it kind of. And as we described, Vaoret then is beamed into the auxiliary control room with all of you, and obviously at that point, then the ship. Obviously the helm control, bridge control has gone, so you will have to then essentially take over control from your auxiliary bridge position, which you can easily do because that is exactly what it is designed to do. And so
I think now I'll loud howl the entire ship and say, "This is Lieutenant Commander Vaoret. I've taken command of the ship. Surrender." No, we need to beam all of the remaining members of the Lexington aboard first because there's only 4 or 5 of us, and they could bum rush us. Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Back.
Yeah.
Are you back,
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. Come on, behave. You're a good boy.
Yeah, we just lost you there for a minute, but I can hear you back now. Was there something you wanted to add in? Because we've had the bridge has been destroyed.
Right. Okay. Can you kick me from the game again, please?
I can do that. Hold on. Oh, you've gone anyway. There you go.
There we go. Right.
I'm going to join myself back in again as well, just to see whether I can get that blinking. I'm still a bit puzzled by that why that page isn't working, because again, I've done it loads of times before and it's worked every time. So I don't know why it doesn't like this particular image, but it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Possibly the size of the actual typing.
No, because it should allow you to have 10 meg is the image limit, but it's just not even complaining. Okay. It's really funny. It's just not even complaining. It's just not letting me do it, but it doesn't matter. Right, so you're now all in auxiliary control. You now have control of the ship because the bridge has been reduced to rubble, and everybody on the bridge has either been killed or, if they were smart, they probably abandoned it before the shuttle exploded. Say again.
They did have warning.
They certainly had warning. So my assumption is they probably would have abandoned the bridge very quickly. Now, Mike, you obviously realise that they are going to be coming for you all because they realise where you are and what you're doing. So I think the next thing you're going to have to do is probably activate the intruder control system.
Yep. Secure.
So
gas.
Yeah.
I'll go to the security. I mean, I'll get into the security systems and try and activate the gas ship-wide. Okay.
So you do not have to. You basically don't have to roll for that because, again, as we've already covered, you've got you're very proficient with this stuff. So you essentially go straight into the security system and you begin to deploy anesthetizine gas. What this basically is, it's an intruder control thing, and all through the ship there are tanks of this stuff, and it's like an anesthetic gas. And what it will do is it pumps through the ship and it will basically knock everybody out. I think that's what Khan used, wasn't it, in Space Seed? Is that right? Something like that. Well, in fact, no, he didn't. He turned off the oxygen on the bridge, didn't he? But anyway, point being, you deploy gas. Now, it's certainly likely that there will be some of the crew on this ship will have been able to, isolate themselves in rooms or whatever. So it's unlikely that you will have taken out everybody on board. However, the vast majority of the crew are very quickly reduced to unconsciousness, and you then are able to hail once you can look on the internal monitors and you can see that all through the ship there are people unconscious. Basically, they've just literally dropped to the ground where they were. You've got the ship under control, because again, auxiliary control is like, mirrors all the functions of the main bridge. And so you've got the ship under control, and you basically, have got the situation under control. And the next thing, as Sarah Jane had said, is you can then communicate with survivors from the Lexington. So it turns out there are 47 survivors only from the Lexington who managed to make it to the surface with escape pods. However, you managed to communicate with. They've kind of gathered themselves together. They've kind of banded together on the surface, and you communicate with whoever picks up the communicator, and in short order you transport them. Or one of you goes to the transporter room. Again, bearing in mind you've still got environment suits on, so I would guess you would probably keep the anesthetizine gas in operation at least until you get some more people on board. You can clear the transporter room, obviously.
Which leads us to the problem: is how do they operate without survival suits?
Well, you don't need to worry about that, because basically the gas will knock them out for a fairly long period of time. I mean, let's say it gives you an hour of time. So all you do is you go to the transporter room, you start beaming up people, you clear the transporter rooms of gas. So you within short order you have all 47 survivors on board. Most of them are in relatively good health, because again, these are the people who just jumped in an escape pod and got away. So they're not injured, other than the fact that obviously, the ship got destroyed. You get 47 of your crewmates on board, and by the time the other crew start to come around, you've managed to get them confined. You use force fields, whatever. The short story is, because again we are running out of time, is that you've managed to take control of the ship. You have them, as I say, you've managed to lock them away, do whatever you need to do. But with your actions and the actions of the the other 47 crew members, there's enough of you to be able to control the other crew. And as you are gathering up these unconscious crew members of this ship, I mean, again, as we've said, their uniforms are non-standard, and they seem to be they don't have any insignia. They're wearing the uniforms have the same color scheme. So
it might be dress down day. It might be dress down day.
It might be a Friday. But again, it seems as if none of them have. There's no ship insignia, for example, because they're not wearing the Starfleet arrowhead. They just have uniform tunics with rank.
Under the Geneva Convention, if you find soldiers on your in your land without uniforms, you can shoot them as spies. So I'm assuming that still remains. We could execute every single one of these as spies.
I would think, Kevin, that the Geneva Convention went out the window along with Carnoonian's thing.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Just putting out there as a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of my ideas are great.
No, that certainly the shuttle idea was a good one. I'll give you that. Okay, so anyway, hours pass and you have the ship under control as much as possible. Yes, the bridge is trashed, but you have control of the ship from auxiliary control. You have the majority of the ship's crew under lock and key. You send security, you send your people out with weapons to go and kind of account for everybody. And there's a couple of isolated firefights where, again, some of the crew of this ship managed to, turn off ventilation or whatever and kind of realize what was happening. But within a few hours, you've got the ship under control. You're at least, you're not dead. And B, you are, in control of the situation as much as you can be. Now, you obviously still don't have answers at this point. You don't know, why this ship has attacked and destroyed the Lexington. Your immediate problem is survival, of course. And as I say, despite the fact that the bridge has been trashed, the ship is fundamentally in good shape. The EMP is, the effects of the EMP have worn off mostly. And again, you have some engineers in your crew, and so you are able to make repairs. And it's a slow process, but within a day or so, you're in a much better position. Like I say, you've got all of the other crew kind of locked up. Now, none of them are talking to you. So if you decide to make any efforts to sort of interrogate them, they will simply stick to the line that, all of the command crew were killed on the bridge, and they're just following all, they just do what they're told. They're crewmen. They do what they're told.
Are we holding them in one room?
No, you probably have to hold them in several, because these ships have got a crew of like 400 plus.
Okay, so
and again, there'd be maybe 8 or 10 on the bridge. So you've got all of the brig, the ship's like security section brig is full, because you've got the sort of cells with force fields. So you've got a lot of them, locked away, and you probably also had to convert cargo bays. Bottom line is, this is all kind of background stuff that you've spent time making sure that as far as possible the ship is secure, because obviously you don't want them breaking out of confinement and causing you problems.
Okay, Captain, I have one final idea.
Okay.
No, they're not going out the airlock.
No. I would suggest, over loud halo so the entire ship hears, that we remind them of the legend of the Botany Bay, and give them an hour.
Botany Bay? Oh no!
And give them an hour before we transport them to the surface of the planet and leave. And we need to know answers within that hour. Post that hour, we will transport them to the planet's surface and leave.
I mean, you can do that. It's up to, again, I'll open it up to the group, because at this point, yes.
How many of them would have known what I did?
Well, I mean, only those on the bridge, and as I say,
so we assume some survived the bridge.
I would assume, yeah. You don't know for sure, because again, obviously, when the bridge was destroyed, so therefore, anybody on the bridge would have been sucked out into space. But again, as Sarah Jane rightly said, they knew this was coming. It's not like you made a secret of it, right? So I'm guessing that they would have evacuated the bridge before it happened.
Yeah, so if I tell them who I am, so we've got the tannoy open. I go, this is Lt Cmdr Vaoret. Explain the Botany. Well, I didn't explain the Botany Bay. You have an hour to explain yourselves. When that hour is up, if I don't have a satisfactory answer, I will transport you to the surface. And the hour starts now.
I mean, what do the rest of you think about that? Because to be honest, the problem you've got here is immediately a problem of security, because bottom line is, if you've got 400 people in captivity, if you're going to fly the ship back to Federation, back to a starbase or whatever, to report on this, you're going to have to keep an eye on them. So actually, I would say it's probably not an unreasonable plan of action to transport them down to the surface with supplies. And obviously the plan would be to go back to the starbase and then get Starfleet to come back and get them. You're not abandoning them forever. You are removing a security threat in the short term so that you can get the situation under control. You can go back to the starbase. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion? Rather than going back, how far are we from starbase?
Well, you're going to be at least a week away from the nearest starbase, let's say.
So we put them all in the transporter scrubbers.
I mean, you could do, but that would cause you problems with energy. Again, why bother? You could just transport them all down and say, right, here's supplies for a week. and we'll be back, or somebody will be back.
Because, as I say, why not just call Starfleet and then we can sit up here in orbit, making sure they don't come in to any harm? Which the only problem is that
can
is
do
it
that.
depends who turns up. The only problem with that is it depends who turns up.
I mean,
we need to
again,
be out of here. We need to be out of here in this ship ASAP. So yes, give them an hour, but they're going down to the shuttle. They're going to the surface anyway, but give them an hour to talk and see who coughs first.
So, what do the rest of you think about that? How do you feel? How does your conscience sit with that? Do you feel happy with that idea? Because again, I'm not suggesting that you're going to abandon them forever. You basically are going to put them on the planet's surface and say, we're going to leave you with supplies, but frankly, you're a security. We can't take the risk of having 400 of you on the ship. You're going to head back to Starbase, and then because again, if you go back to a Starbase rather than just sending out a message, then at least you're talking to Starfleet Command directly rather than risking a message being intercepted. So as long as they have supplies and shelter, then I don't see that that's massively a problem.
What's the name of this planet?
You don't know. It's just this unnamed moon in a distant system.
So long as the unnamed moon's neighbour doesn't explode 3 weeks after we leave.
That's a good point. But that's a fair point. But that this planet has been. I mean, this moon has been here for, given that the ruins you found were thousands of years old. So, I kind of, although on the one face you go, but I actually don't think it's a bad idea to just dump them and just leave them there. So then it takes the problem away.
Yeah, I think the idea is right.
So but we'll give them the hour just to see if anyone coughs.
Surprisingly, nobody does. So you begin the process of transporting them down to the planet's surface in batches. There's not much they can do about it. You just you drop the force fields in the cells and you beam them down.
If we do them hard, so there's a cell of say 10 people.
Yeah.
First cell we send 5 down on the hour.
Yeah.
Leaving 5 in there, and then we go to another cell, move 5 down, so they know what's happening, and it gives them a final opportunity for somebody to cough before actually transport them down.
I think if they're working for Metaverse, if they're working for who we think they're working for, they're not going to talk.
No, none of them talk. None of them, there's a few sneering comments, but they essentially after you go through that process, but they all get beamed down, and what you do is you transport down. Stuff from the ship supplies of temporary shelters. So you leave them with everything that they need to survive comfortably. And then once that's been, and this takes you the better part of a day to get everything down and to get all of the supply. Basically you put them down, and once that's done, then Captain Moore.
Before we depart, I want to do one more thing.
Yeah.
I want to run a thorough sensor scan of the ship, looking for hidden humans.
Okay.
Humanoid.
Fine. Give me a dice roll. Give me a dice roll. As long as you don't roll a critical, then you will succeed. 41. Fine. You can spend as long as you like, because again, once these guys are all down off the ship and on the surface, you've got the luxury of of time.
I just want to make sure we haven't got any visitors,
saboteurs on board. As far as you can tell, the ship is clear of everyone apart from you and the 47 other survivors of the Lexington.
We also scan for any, say, shuttlecraft inside our.
Yeah. No, I think that trick would only work the once. I think. And okay, so you then depart, and so. To skip to the end, so basically you return to Starbase, and initially you have a problem whereby, because of course the ship is not identifiable. However, Captain Moore, long story short, Captain Moore convinces the admiral in charge of the Starbase to, talk to her, explains the situation, and again. This takes a bit of time to go through the red tape, but basically then ships are sent out to retrieve the stranded crewmen. However, when they reach the moon, there is no trace of the crewmen from this ship. So when they've reached the planetoid and there's nobody left there.
The other thing I was going to ask, the other thing I wanted to do, because you said it's about a week's travel to the starbase.
Yeah, so we'll say about. I'll pick that number out of thin air, but we'll call it a week.
Yeah, I want to go through the ship's records, computer systems, and
Captain's
any
logs.
other things.
Okay,
Yeah,
there are no captain's logs in the system. The system, you discover that the system is designed that unless a code is put in every 12 hours by the commanding officer, then all of the ship's logs are wiped instantly. So there is no record of any of this ship's previous missions or any orders received or any evidence other than the physical existence of the ship. There is nothing to tie into Section 31 or a larger conspiracy.
Well, we are going to write in whatever spray or paint we have, USS Lexington, NCC 1709.2 on the front. On the front.
Okay. So
and repair the bridge.
At that point, we leave the crew of the Lexington, the partial crew of the Lexington, on the into the mists of time. Right. It is now the 24th century again. Back on the USS Vigilant, the crew are sitting at their assigned stations. The bridge is bathed in emergency lighting, and everyone seems to be intent at their tasks. A young, unfamiliar human male mans the con position and turns to the captain's chair. It's no good, sir. All escape vectors are blocked. They're swinging back around. ETA 90 seconds. The captain's chair swivels round to face the report, and it is Kaz sitting in the chair, not Naismith. She looks intense and serious. Very well, Lieutenant. All hands, this is the captain. Abandon ship. I say again, abandon ship. The crew looks stunned as the abandon ship signal sounds, and that is where we are going to stop for tonight.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Starship Vigilant. Kaz was played by Mike, Osterhagen was played by Kevin, Kalish was played by Kerrin, Crux was played by Sarah Jane, and Davis was played by Alex. Our theme music is Fanfare for Space by Kevin MacLeod. See you next time.